With that, I'll go to our last speaker. So Hikari Tamura, who will talk about the Japan experience on the development of state action plans and how they included sustainable aviation fuels on these state action plan. So Hikari, the floor is yours. Can you hear me there?
Yes, I hear you. I'm ready. Can I start?
Yes, floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the participants of these sessions. My name is Hikari Tamura from JCAB, Japan Civil Aviation Bureau, and I'm a chief of Carbon Neutrality Promotion Office. And first of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to the ICAO Secretariat for this wonderful opportunity. So in this presentation, I will introduce you mainly the SAF-related elements of Japan's State Action Plan. And as the ICAO Secretariat mentioned in the invitation email, I hope this presentation helps you to get first-hand information how successfully integrated SAF in the National State Action Plan, and what is the process and actions for implementations and expected benefits. So let's begin the presentation. Next slide, please. So this is the organization structure of the JCAB on sustainability issues. So JCAB established a Carbon Neutrality Promotion Office in 2022. So in the office, we have planning team, international affairs team where it belongs to, and SAF team. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this slide shows how SAF-related initiatives are incorporated in Japan's action plan. So Japan's most recent state action plan was issued in 2021, and it consists of for example, efforts to date and future initiatives. And for details, please see the slides. As you know, state action plans need to be updated every 3 years, and Japan's action plan will be updated this year, and it will incorporate progress from 2021, such as public-private council, towards promoting the introduction of SAF, domestic SAF supply and demand forecast, CORSIA eligible fuel registration, certification support, and regulation support, and so on. So please go to the next slide. Thank you. So the purpose of this slide is to provide an overview of our initiatives. So all these initiatives are based on the targets and plans set out in the 2021 State Action Plan. So I'm not going to cover every details on this slide, but I'll introduce 3 initiatives as significant outcomes, and I'm going to cover them later in my presentations. Let's move on to the next slide. Thank you. So this is our policymaking platform, Public-Private Council. The Public-Private Council was established to discuss the technical or financial challenges to facilitating domestic SAF productions and establishing SAF supply chain. And we invited membership by aircraft operators, airport authorities, oil companies, relevant ministries, and so on. And it's a place for members to build a good relationship with each other. Members can work closely with each other, sharing the latest information and exchanging views. The key outcomes of the councils are 1, making or sharing a future forecast for domestic demand and supply of SAF, and forming the regulatory and supportive policies. Next slide, please. So from this slide, I will go a bit deeper on our SAF project. So as a part of the activities for the Public-Private Council that I mentioned on the previous slide, I would like to introduce an activity from Certification Task Group, which was established under the Public-Private Council. As you may know, it is required to obtain registrations as CORSIA eligible fuel to use SAF under the CORSIA framework. And last year, Japan proposed registration of new raw materials, which is non-standard coconut, at ICAO Fuel Task Group FTG, and reached an agreement that these raw materials was reflected in the document. Oh, sorry, the picture is missing. Actually, I put several pictures on the left side of the slide, but that's okay. And this is a very significant outcome, and we believe this is a great step to help diversifying SAF feedstock in the future. Next slide, please. So this slide is about regulation support for SAF deployment. So we are taking regulatory and supportive approach for SAF deployment to secure domestic SAF manufacturing capacity in the feedstock supply chain, and so that airlines will be able to get sufficient SAF at internationally competitive prices. As for the regulations we are trying to introduce, regulations on the SAF supply side, we are aiming to get this SAF supply target for 2030. It's currently under the planning stage and will soon be subject to regulations. Also, we have already introduced regulations on the SAF user side. So airlines are requested to set a target amount of SAF usage in 2030 within their decarbonization plans, which is replacing 10% of SAF fuel consumption with SAF. So I will explain about it later. As for the support for the supply side, we provide support for initial investment in the feedstock supply chain as CAPEX. So regarding CAPEX, Japanese government has allocated about 340 billion yen over 5 years to support SAF's manufacturing and the supply chain development. Under this framework, oil producer can take investment subsidy for large-scale for SAF manufacturing facilities. Also, we are going to introduce the incentives like the tariff and tax exemptions for feedstock and imported SAF as OPEX, as you can see on the slide. Energy suppliers can receive a corporate tax reduction of 30 yen per liter of SAF. So for your information, financial resources are from GX transition bonds, and this will last about 10 years from certification of business plan. Next slide, please. Thank you. So on this slide, you can see the framework of how to involve the air operators plan into government policies. So we introduce an institutional decarbonization framework to share actions based on the roadmap and to allow each operator and airport to take actions voluntarily and systematically to increase their accountability. So focusing on airplane operator, you can see some initiatives on the right side of the slide, and airlines are supposed to include these initiatives in their decarbonization plan in accordance with government policy. And in January this year, the MLIT approved the plan of Japan Airlines and ANA, and the plan included these initiatives, of course. Next slide, please. Thank you. So here's the roadmap which I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation. So the roadmap was updated in March this year and shared with public and private council. The roadmap is composed of 3 elements. 1, new technology roadmap for aircraft decarbonization. 2, improvement flight operations through more sophisticated air traffic control and other measures, and promotion of the introduction of SAF. Newly updated elements are shown in red, some of which has already been mentioned in my presentations. And the previous roadmaps were included in Japan State Action Plan 2021. And we revised it again, and we've included, of course, in State Action Plan in 2024. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is just for the reference. And next slide, please. Thank you. So I'll give you a quick summary of today's presentations and share our vision for the new State Action Plan. So what is described here is already in motion, but still needed to be promoted in the future. So Japan will continue to work with initiatives, which is written in the slide, excuse me, and incorporate them into the State Action Plan 2024, together with activities under the Public-Private Council. And also, we would like to emphasize the importance of setting targets and the plans in the State Action Plan. As the initiatives and outcomes shown in my presentation, the result of the activities based on the State Action Plan are clear and have been very significant and effective in promoting the introduction of SAF. So I hope this presentation helps you to get the first-hand information how successfully integrate SAF in the National State Action Plan. Thank you very much for your kind attention.